morning. Welcome to the Church of the River here in beautiful downtown Memphis, Tennessee. My name is Reverend Sam Tidal, and I have the joy of serving this congregation as minister. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 345 in the gray hymnal, "With Joy We Claim the Growing Light." Beautiful. You may be seated. Just a few quick announcements before we get started this morning. Assisted listening devices and large print hymnals are available. If having an assisted listening device or a large print hymnal would help you access our service this morning, Mike Johnson is going to wave his hand in the air right now. And if you need a large print hymnal or an assisted listening device, go talk to him and he will know who to go talk to get that for you. I just looked up and you were the first person I saw, man. So that's what we're doing. Parking is available at the Channel 3 parking lot. That's kind of over there. If the walk from Channel 3, thank you so much. If the walk from Channel 3 to our building does not present any kind of a difficulty for you and your family, we encourage you to use that lot so we can use the spaces down here for people where that walk might be more of a challenge for them and for first-time visitors. Nursery and preschool rooms are open for children 4 and younger from 9:30 to 12:30. Please note children must be registered before attending. However, you can register on site. Children in the sanctuary with their full embodied vocal physical selves are always welcome to be present as they present themselves. However, if a parent or a child is more comfortable watching on the screen in the Mississippi River Room, you can also do that. But if you want to be in this space, all of you is welcome in this space. Ages 5 to 12 may follow Zara Razor for our planned, Zara, can you wave a hand in the air? May follow Zara for our planned activities after the time for all ages. The awesome little choir rehearses Wednesdays from 7 to 8:30 and Sunday mornings at 10:45. If you feel the need to or the desire to raise a joyful noise, you are welcome to be part of our choir. Parents intentionally engaged, or PIE, which is a small group for anybody of any age who identifies as a parent, is meeting in the Mississippi River Room on Sunday mornings from 9:45-ish to 10:45-ish. It is a wonderful, wonderful space where people whose children are toddlers, people whose children have children, people all across what it means to be a parent are welcome in that space. Soup for the Soul meets this Thursday, November 17th at 6:30 at the Forum of Carol Strawn. Contact Carol Strawn for more information. Stone Soup Sunday returns next Sunday, November 20th. This is a Sunday where We encourage everybody to bring a cup of chopped vegetables and a cup of fruit. We are going to make a huge soup. We are going to make a huge fruit salad. We are also having a canned food drive, so if you want to bring some canned food to help some people out who could use some canned food, that is also a thing that that you can do. Next week, she's going to hate that I'm blowing up her spot like this, but it has to be done. We have a guest preacher next week. Normally I try to downplay it when we have a guest preacher. This week we have a guest preacher who is wonderful and who wrote a lot of her work for her master's on religion and food, and who also happens to be my wife. The Reverend Sandra Summers is going to be preaching next week, and has some really, really amazing things in store. So please do not miss that. The Girl Scouts meet next Sunday, November 20th from 3 to 4:30 in the Mississippi River Room. Email Rachel Rice, troop13304@gmail.com, or if you somehow aren't going to instantly remember that email address, email Debbie Heath, info@churchoftheriver.org. If you want to participate in Girl Scouts, please know LGBT young people and transgender young people are welcome to participate in this Girl Scout troop. Our Friendsgiving Potluck Shindig will be held on Wednesday, November 23rd here at 6 p.m. If you want to come share a sort of a pre-Thanksgiving meal with anyone else in this congregation, you are welcome to participate in that. Manor House guests are in need of long-sleeved shirts of any kind. Sizes large, and extra large. Donations can be brought to the church and placed in the donation bin at the south entrance. To schedule a pickup from your home or drop them off, check with Nancy Wright. We invite first-time visitors. How does Pratik do this every week? How did I used to do this every week? We invite first-time visitors to fill out a visitors form on the website. If you are interested in joining the Church of the River, we are interested in you joining the Church of the River. All you have to do is see an usher or a staff member. Mike, I'm just going to pick on you again. Wave your hand in the air again. Talk to Mike, and he will find someone who can help you join the church. If you would like to join, that's your dude this week. The Church of the River's COVID task force continues to monitor the rates of hospitalization and infection levels in Shelby County. The risk for Shelby County is low currently, meaning that social distancing is optional and masks are optional. All of them are encouraged, but you certainly, you do what feels best for you, and don't get any closer to another person than they want you to always in your life, whether it's social distancing or not. There is a new COVID-19 vaccine, a bivalent vaccine that is authorized for individuals 5 through 11 years of age and older as a single booster dose, because as Unitarian Universalists, it is part of our tradition to share good, reliable, factual information with the people in our congregations. We are letting you know we encourage you to get that as well. For more details on these and other Church of the River events and activities, email info@churchoftheriver.org. Subscribe to our weekly mailing list. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. With no more announcements, our worship service will now begin. I'll breathe. Spirit of life, divine mystery, gracious and loving God, we gather and we give thanks for the bumps in the road, for the trials and tribulations, for the heartbreaks and the headaches. We give thanks for the moments when we felt unknown and unseen. We give thanks for the moments when we felt recognized and held and celebrated. We give thanks for the moments when we did not deserve this. We give thanks for the moments when we absolutely did. We give thanks for the moments when it fell apart, for the moments when it all came together. We give thanks for all of the many, many moments in between. We give thanks for all of the moments in our lives that have led us to this place on this day, that we may come together in worship. We light this chalice for the challenge of freedom, the goal of community, oh my God. What? Yes, thank you, though. We light this chalice for the challenge of freedom, the goal of equality, and the warmth of community. May all who gather here offer and find the blessings of acceptance, loving kindness, and a grateful heart. Amen. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 158, Praise the Source of Faith and Learning. Verses 1, 2, and 3. Change my mind. Let's do the fourth verse too.
Sunday. And I found myself this week thinking, it's not going to work. That we can't do it the way we've always done it. That's not right. Those costumes are wrong. We need this. And in fact, I went all in on there's only one way to tell the Stone Soup story. It looks like this. And then I found this poster. And it looks like this. And then I found there are like 4 versions of Stone Soup the story. So what I learned is I need to not get stuck on thinking there's only one way to do something. So I decided I was going to tell the story of Stone Soup 2 times. I'm going to tell you this version this week, and then next Sunday we'll tell that version. Do you notice that they look different? That one is about French soldiers. This is about somebody else, and I think the story I'm going to read to you is about monks. And I wonder, does it matter how we tell the story? I think not. But y'all think about it. It's the same story, and the lesson is the same. When everybody brings what they have, everybody has enough. A new version. 3 monks traveled along a mountain road. They talked about cat whiskers, the color of the sun, and whatever else came to mind. "What makes one happy?" asked the youngest monk. The old and the wisest monk said, "Let's find out." The monks found themselves gazing down at the rooftops of a village below. The monks knew the village had been through many hard times, and villagers had even become suspicious of their neighbors. The villagers worked hard, but only for themselves. They had little to do with one another. When the monks came down, the villagers disappeared into their house, and no one came to the gate to greet them. Even the windows were closed tight. The monks knocked on the doors, but there was no answer. "These people do not know happiness," they all agreed. "But today, we will show them how to make stone soup." They gathered twigs and made a fire. They placed a small tin pot on top and filled it with water. A brave little girl who had been watching came to them. "What are you doing?" she asked. "We are making stone soup, and we need 3 round, smooth stones." The little girl helped the monks find 3 perfectly round stones. "These stones will make excellent soup, but this is a very small pot. It won't make much." The little girl ran home to get her mother's big pot. "The 3 strangers are making stone soup from stones," she said. The monks poked the coals. As smoke drifted up, the neighbors peered out from their windows. They found the monks, the fire, and the large pot in the middle of the village very curious. One by one, the villagers came out to see just what this stone soup was. Of course, old-style stone soup should be well seasoned with salt and pepper, but we don't have any. "I have some salt and pepper," said a villager, and disappeared and came back. The old monk took a taste. "The last time we had stone soup of this size and color, carrots made the broth very sweet." "Carrots?" said the woman from the back. "I may have a few carrots." And she returned with as many carrots as she could carry and dropped them into the pot. "Do you think it would be better with onions?" said the other monk. "Oh, yes, maybe an onion would taste good." He left and returned in a moment with 5 big onions. He dropped them into the bubbling soup, and something magical began to happen. As each person opened his or her heart to give, the next person gave even more. The monk simply stirred, and the pot bubbled. At last the soup was ready. The villagers gathered together. Everyone sat down to eat. They had not been together for a feast like this for as long as anyone could remember. After the banquet, they told stories, sang songs, and celebrated long into the night. Then they unlocked their doors and took the monks into their homes and gave them very comfortable places to sleep. In the gentle spring morning that came the next day, everyone gathered together to say farewell. Thank you for having us as your guests. You have been most generous. Thank you, said the villagers. With the gifts you have given, we will always have plenty. You have shown us that sharing makes us all richer. And to think, said the monks, to be happy is as simple as making stone soup. You are beloved. You are sacred. You are powerful. Go in peace.
First reading is from the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 6 through 10. Can you hear me? Here's the mic. Is that better? All right. First reading is from the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verses 6 through 10. And God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters." So God made the dome and separated the waters that were under the dome from the waters that were above the dome, and it was so. God called the dome sky, and there was evening and there was morning the second day. And God said, "Let the waters under the sky be gathered together in one place, and let the dry land appear," and it was so. God called the dry land earth, and the waters that were gathered together God called seas, and God saw that it was good. This second reading is from a book called Modern Science and the Genesis Record by Harry Rimmer, DD, SCD. Let us then paraphrase this text of Moses by transliteration into English, and we shall see that it reads, "Let there be something nebulous and unlimited spread between the waters to separate the water from the water." At this statement, we are content to let ignorance laugh, but we will pause to investigate. The reader must know that there is a certain type of mind that finds a peculiar humor in any situation too deep for its understanding. And many so-called thinkers, those are his quotes, not mine, many so-called thinkers have laughed this passage to scorn. The change is made by this school that Hebrews believed, or at least Moses taught, that there were two bodies of water with the firmament separating them from each other. This strikes the free thinker and the modernist as too funny for words. Yet this is exactly what scientific investigation reveals to be the fact. We're going to talk about it later. Stay with me. Let us pray. Spirit of life, divine mystery, gracious and loving God, who we know by many names, who we find in many places, we gather this day and we give thanks for the opportunity to be wrong. We give thanks for the opportunity to learn. We give thanks for the opportunity to be challenged so that we may grow. We give thanks this day for the opportunity to be in this community of beloveds who will love us, who will lift us up, who will take us back, no matter how right or wrong we were. We gather this day and we give thanks to be here with this beloved community who see our value, who see and understand the gifts that we bring. We give thanks for the opportunity to see the gifts in others and to love and lift up the gifts in others. We gather this day. We give thanks for the beautiful sun that shines even when it is upsettingly cold. We gather this day and give thanks for this day and for this moment to be together. Amen.
Something told the wild geese it was time to go. The fields lay golden. Something whispered snow. Leaves were green and starry. Berries mustard lawns, but beneath warm feathers, something caution, frost. All the sagging orchards steamed with endless wise, but each one rested and remembered us. Something told all wild geese it was time to fly. Summer sun was on their wings. Winter in their
So before we take our offering this morning, we have our testimony that is going to be offered by a member of our congregation. This is something that we do during the month of our annual canvass to help inspire all of us to remember why we love this church and to remember why we support this church. And all of the members of this church are very special to me. However, the person offering our testimony this morning is one of the 7 people who hired me. She is one of the people who I have to thank for so many gifts in my life, but looming large among them is my place here in this church. She is someone who loves this church and who brings so much joy and goodness and compassion into our space, and I am so grateful that she has agreed to come and share a few words with us this morning. Please join me in welcoming Ellen Kleiss.
Oh my goodness. My dear, can you hear me? Yes. My dear friend and former fellow search committee member, Matt Holliday, asked me to do this talk. And it's one of those covenant relationships where the only possible answer is yes. Yes, I will. And I just want to do this. On Zoom one time, I saw Reverend Sam ask Matt to gesticulate wildly, and it was so much fun to see. So Matt, would you please gesticulate wildly? Yes. Well done. So here I am, Lord. Send me in, Coach, and may the words of my heart be acceptable. We throw the word precious around so casually. An adorable child is precious. A gemstone is precious. A memory is precious. And that is where you all come in. And yes, I am looking at you. I look at you, beloveds, and I remember. You are precious to me. I remember my first day in the choir loft, nervous and afraid that I would be the one to sing in the rest. And yes, folks, there was a Sunday when I did. I remember the tree planted in our daughter Rebecca of blessed memory's name, planted right there, and how it lived into its pink spring glory for several years until the day Reverend Sam came to us for his first candidating sermon Sunday. There was a big storm the night before, and that tree bowed down before him and gave up its botanical life, pointing the way to our church's future. I can remember hearing from this very pulpit a sermon asking, "Can a Unitarian be born again?" And the answer was yes, any number of times. So this is the place I go when I need that renewal and refreshment and redemption of new birth. And the experience that indeed, as the Psalms say, 96, for those of you who want to proof text me, God and we can sing a new song. I give you Annabelle Raymond of blessed memory. Does anybody in this sanctuary or maybe on a Zoom worship screen remember her name? Yes, Diane does. She was our choir director when I was a little girl here. She carried our hearts in her heart with a tune for years. And now, after the marvelous and loving ministry and guidance of Chuck Schultz, Dr. Tuba himself, after COVID, after a long time of silence and diaspora, we have been brought back together with a new chapter of renewal and remembrance and growth. We welcome Dr. Mona Kreitner. And as one of our choir family said in an email to the choir last week, which I've gotten permission to share with you, we like you already. Now, I cannot tell you how or how much or why, how come you should give or pledge or financially support this church. I just know that if I am going to be the person I want to be, if I'm going to be part of a congregation where even Brid Kleiss can be sitting among the saved, I'm going to invest in what I believe sustains life and death and life again, in what I believe is true and real and beautiful in community and faithfulness, in harmony and the music of the spheres and the sanctuary. I will invest in this church, the community where I live and move and have my being, and the more I give, the more precious it all becomes. And so I offer my words and my breath and my voice and the hope that together we might all sing a new song. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ellen, so much for your words and for the gig. We have come to that moment in our service when we will collect this morning's offering. I've been calling it the offertory, but the offering is the thing. The offertory is the music, right? Someone taught me that recently. If you are feeling moved this morning to give to the Church of the River, then a great way to do that is to get out your phone and go to churchoftheriver.org, and you will be able to give electronically in that way. If you would like to give via cash or check, a velvet bag will be passed among the pews, and you can put that in there as well. If this is your first time with us, please feel free to just sit and relax. Your presence this morning is your gift to us. If you would like to support the church in another way, a great thing to do is, again, get out your phone, take a selfie, take a picture of the river, check in here on Facebook and Instagram, post that you are at Church of the River and that you are having a wonderful experience and that you are so glad that you came. And of course, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, the whole thing. Give us a like, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. That does a whole lot to help our congregation and what we're trying to do. The offertory for the care and sustenance of this congregation and its work will now be graciously given and received. Well, good morning again. Today is, I got one good morning. That was, good morning. We are, today is the second half of a little series that I'm calling Stopped Clocks. You know, based on the expression, even a stopped clock is right twice a day. And basically in this series, I've chosen two books to preach about. The books both have sort of a theological bent. And they are both full of statements that I would classify as objectively false. And so this month, we're taking a look at them, and in each book, we're going to try and find at least a couple concepts or ideas that are not only true, but have some lesson to teach us as Unitarian Universalists. So last week, we covered satanic teenagers. This week, we're focusing on the not at all controversial topic of biblical narrative versus scientific fact. And we're doing it with the help of this book published in 1939 called Modern Science and the Genesis Record, written by Harry Rimmer, DD-SCD. Has anyone in the room heard of this book? Perfect. I hadn't heard of it when I bought it, but I don't always know these things. So I picked up the book a few years ago at a store in Belfast, Maine called Old Professor's Bookshop that specializes in old and obscure academic texts. And so the book talks a lot about the first chapter of Genesis, where God creates the world over the course of 6 days, and then, very good. And the stated mission of the book is to prove, using science, that the creation narrative in the book of Genesis is an entirely accurate, scientifically verifiable account of how the planet Earth was actually created. And I should say, I myself don't believe that most Bible stories are historically factual. I love biblical text. I love studying them and talking about them and preaching about them. And in Unitarian Universalist Church, it is okay for all of us to love or not love biblical text in all of our different ways. The theological diversity in this room is vast. For example, last week I made a statement about how there aren't really a whole lot of Satanists in the world, right? That was a bit. Is people like to say Unitarians are a bunch of Satanists, but that's not really a thing. And then not one but two people approached me in the receiving line and showed me their membership card to the Satanic Temple. So I was sitting there thinking, I don't even know any Satanists, and it turns out I minister to at least two of them. And can I just say, I cannot tell you how much I love that when you join the Satanic Temple, you get a membership card. Because the only other religion I know of that does that is the Mormons. You pay them $35 and you get a card that says you're a Satanist. It's adorable. So, and perfectly valid as a form of religious expression. Don't email me that I said it was adorable, I'm sorry. So, in Modern Science and the Genesis Record, Dr. Rimmer spends several hundred pages combing through every detail of the first Genesis creation narrative, trying so hard to explain how the story is scientifically possible, and the book is genuinely brilliant. I feel like you're expecting me to get up here and rip the book to shreds, but it has blown my entire mind. And on a factual level, I agree with very little, if anything, that it says. But I found myself feeling simply enamored of the book, and especially of Dr. Rimmer himself. He is perhaps the most creative theologian I have ever encountered. And the book is, it's biased, right? He cherry picks the sources that prove his point. Most books do that. Most writers do that. I definitely do that, right? So I don't hold that against him. So he begins by explaining that the Hebrew word yom, Y-O-M, is what we usually translate as meaning day, right? So on the first day, on the fourth day, on the first yom, on the fourth yom, right? So far I've still got you? When you start talking about which Hebrew words mean what in a text, you have to hold on to people because they slip away. So we usually translate this as meaning day, but it doesn't really mean day necessarily. In different parts of the book, it's translated as meaning perpetually and forever, and most importantly for Dr. Rimmer, time, as in a period of time. So when it says the world was created in 6 days, it really just means 6 distinct periods of time that could be any length. And I thought, oh, that's vaguely interesting. Right, I don't know that it changes anything about the plausibility of the narrative, but I guess that's something to chew on. Keep going. And so then he starts talking about the sky vault. The translation that we have in this pulpit says dome. It usually says vault, and I was sure that the whole thing, this is where it was going to fall apart. The book of Genesis describes a dome or a vault in the sky. The Hebrew word is rakia, that is holding up a bunch of water, and so the language is this is how God separated the water from the water, and the idea is this is how we get rain, this is how we get the great flood. And Dr. Rimmer begins his passage on the rakia by acknowledging that it is a demonstrably false model of how our planet is constructed. I thought, let's see you explain your way out of this one. And his explanation is that if you think about the ways in which water presents itself on planet Earth, we have water above and water below. We have massive oceans covering our planet, and then we have clouds and rain and steam, and the water living inside organisms. And he says this is another word that doesn't really mean what we think it means. We translate it as vault. It means something closer to a limitless expanse, which, you know, if you think about it that way, it makes more sense than my hyper-rational Unitarian self was comfortable with. And so we went on like this, with Dr. Rimmer presenting his explanations of what the text means, and me gritting my teeth and thinking, you are such a wonderful writer, and I genuinely wish that I was convinced, but I cannot get there with you, sir. But then we get to the part of the book that I can get behind as being a representation of a deep, important truth. And that is Dr. Rimmer's comments in between his explanations. Because every few pages he goes on these rants about how sick he is of being mocked and laughed at by people who do not believe that the book of Genesis is full of literal facts. We heard a bit of this morning. He spends half of his book on biblical apologia, and the other half talking about how this science that he is using is going to make everybody who ever made fun of him get their comeuppance. And I feel like that's a fair thing for him to want. People who see the Bible as more metaphorical than historical, like me, and I suspect at least a few of the people sitting in front of me, including, I think, my 2 card-carrying Satanists, we have a tendency to be wildly condescending towards people who see it differently. I have made jokes about the sky vault in this pulpit like a few times in a few different sermons, and y'all have laughed because they were funny. As liberal people in general, we are incredibly confident in our ability to be right, because we usually are. We are far less skilled at knowing when and how to be kind. And so there I am, reading these ostensibly scholarly articles in a book that I bought at an ostensibly scholarly store, these articles that devolve into righteous fury at us no good liberals every few paragraphs. And the more I read the book, the clearer it became to me, as a person who spends a lot of my career listening to very upset people tell me about their theological beliefs, that this book wasn't really about Genesis or about science, not entirely. It's a book about a person with very hurt feelings trying to convince the reader and himself that the worldview around which he has organized his entire life is not as lame as a bunch of sneering liberals like me said that it was. This is a book, in short, about what separates the water from the water. Because, I start thinking about this question of the sky vault, which I was so eager to use as a means to see Dr. Rimmer stumped. And I started to ask myself the question that he proposes: how does this really work? What separates the water from the water, right? Because water can represent anything. So what separates the water from the water can be understood to mean what separates a thing from itself. What separates humanity from humanity? What separates community from community? Right, this week in our midterm elections, we had to ask, what separates America from America? Dr. Rimmer insists that what makes that separation is, in his words, a limitless expanse. And given the life that he has apparently had and the ways that he has been made to feel, it's understandable that he would perceive it that way. And this is where I actually like the sky vault better, because if what separates is something that is tangible, then it's something that we can remove. But where he and I agree is that the thing that separates something from itself, the thing that divides and rips apart and injures, is something that has to be created. It's something that was not there in the beginning. He is entirely correct when he ponders this question of the sky vault about separating the water from the water. He acknowledges that an entity is never torn asunder. The dividing agent, as it were, has to be put there by an outside source. And what the text also teaches us, what the book of Genesis teaches us, and what I think modern science and the Genesis record by Dr. Harry Rimmer, D.D., SCD, teaches us, is that the solution to division is creation, right? It's not always possible to reunite pieces that have been broken, but it is possible to create. It is possible to create a reality in which the struggles and divisions from our past are not able to hurt us anymore. That's why he wrote the book, and it's also why this church was founded. Because all of us need a place to go where we can feel safe and confident in our beliefs and our convictions, be we a Christian or a Jew or a humanist or a card-carrying Satanist. If we have been separated from that place, we must create a new one. And Dr. Rimmer and I also agree that it really does matter that the whole thing doesn't say 6 days, right? Remember this part? 6 days versus 6 periods of time? Because creation takes a long time. To create the circumstances that inspired somebody to write a book about how scientists and liberals were a bunch of jerks, that took probably the majority of his life. To divide our country into the kind of place where we have political parties that mostly care about tearing each other to shreds, that took a long time to create. To create religious communities where people feel unsafe and cast out takes a long time. And the solutions, the loving, safe communities that will allow people to connect and to heal, those also take a long time to create. We live in a world of instant gratification, right? We love the instant gratification that we get from all of our gizmos. We love the instant gratification that we get when we get to tell somebody how wrong they are. So of course we love the idea that the creation of everything we know happened in a matter of days. It's much harder to accept the truth that Dr. Rimmer teaches us, that real creation takes a long time. Creation is slow. Creation is exhausting, but that's what we are here to do. We gather here and we see and name our divisions, and we create connections. We create brave spaces. We create prayers and worship services and small groups and justice initiatives. We gather here and we create community so that as a community we can go forth from this place and create a kinder and more loving world. Amen. I invite you all to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our closing hymn. This one we are doing verses 1 through 3. Number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky.
Go, encounter the world at its ugliest until you find beauty. Go, encounter the world at its cruelest until you find compassion. Go, encounter yourself at your worst until you find that you are a beloved child of God. Go in peace and amen.